Uh, this is a tape that I made in remembrance or in reaction to the recently released uh, from prison, Mr. Stephen Arap SOI. He had been jailed for stealing the Olympic money, and he had been jailed for stealing Olympic money, but he appealed, and he has won his appeal. Is now a free man. Before I talk about Stephen Arap SOI, you might know, and to say that the money was stolen, yes, and I cannot say whether it is Stephen Arap SOI or anybody else. But somebody who had the money approached some fake land dealers. When he approached fake land dealers, they were shown a land near the Robo Road. The Robo Road is near Giraffe Center. Between there is Multimedia University and Giraffe Center. There is a place called the Robo Road, and some people even call it Ole Caparro's place. There is land there that belongs to Baha'i faith. Now somebody found that the bush area, which had been drinking and fornication place, was idle and not used. The land conman conned somebody, conned whoever had that money. So whoever stole the money, Olympic money, the money was also stolen from him. Now back to Stephen Arap SOI, the way I know him. Stephen Arap SOI, when we had completed Kiganjo as recruits, we were 272 recruits. Around 60 were women, and around 30 were men who were not going to GSU training school. This is the team that was going to Kenya Airport Police Unit, and this was also part of the stickmen based all round who chose wherever they wanted to go. So the rest of us, we were going to Northeastern. No, not Northeastern. No, nobody was going to Northeastern, but we were going to operation. We were going to provinces that had operation area. That was Coast, Eastern, and Rift Valley. When we arrived at GSU headquarters, the sentry, who was a constable like us, as he was opening the gate, he asked the crew commander whether these were the recruits who were coming from Kiganjo. Personally, I got annoyed because we had been promoted. Immediately you say, "So help me God," you become a police officer. And we now were proud working with the force numbers on our chest, and we had our certificates of appointment. But what we did not know is that for the next 3 or so years, we would still be called recruits, even if we went to our station. After we were handed over to GSU training school, GSU headquarters, we took the outer ring road from Ruaraka to GSU training school in Embakasi. There we were received by Sergeant Mwangi, a very black person. His nickname was Kisugu, a sadist, but today is not his story. So we arrived, and he told us to go for Fallen, a sort of a parade. After Fallen, we saw an inspector coming. That was my first time I was seeing Mr. Stephen Arap SOI eye by eye. When he arrived there, we were still in our general duties uniform, GD. What you call policemen are not policemen, they are called GD. We have GD, we have AP, we have GSU, we have stock theft. General duties are the people who do the general police work. In fact, traffic dress like general duty, but traffic is different from general duty. General duty is doing the general duties of a police officer. So we were dressed as general duties, GDs, And this inspector appeared as if he had a bone to pick with the GDs. He treated us, up to this time, I've never been to prison, but I think the way he treated us, it was on the level of how prisoners are received after they are convicted the first time they arrive in prison. I remember him telling us, looking down at GDs, and he was asking us, he was saying that GSU are better than GD. I said, in GD, mnapigia nani salute? We said chief inspectors and above. He said, yeah, you salute inspectors and above, and he was an inspector. He talked to us. I remember I had bought a big bed in Kiganjo. He said, he looked at it and said, hatutakagi vitande kama ya malaya. So he gave me time to take it to a relative in Mudhurwa, and all of us had to buy safari bed. Then we were the GSU, half of the GSU colleagues, detail mate, people who we employed with together, were still, we were with them at Embakasi, and others were in Magadi completing the course. So after a few days, they came out of Magadi and we went to Magadi. When we went to Magadi, the in charge of the camp, field training camp in Magadi, he was called camp commander. He was an inspector. Then a few days later, Mr. SOI came, and he was a chief inspector. There was a rank that used to be called acting temporary chief inspector, but you could not differentiate him or her with an ordinary chief inspector. So the instructors really complained that he had hardly been, the other day he had been a corporal, and there was even suspicion that he was related to some senior people, although I can't tell that. During my time of 3 months less 9 days, 3 months less 9 days to reach when we were in Magadi, I had a love-hate relationship with him. During training work, he used to use me as an example of rushing here and there. But in the evening, I used to be the barman at the officers' mess. So I would go there, just be like in an ordinary bar, there is what we call barmaids. But since the GSU are just men only, actually at that time when I was in GSU training school, there were less than 5 women who were GSU officers. Actually, these ladies were GD officers, but they were to do some clerical duties and typing, so they just put on GSU uniform. Nowadays, even women train as tough as men during the GSU, but our time it was strictly men. Over the weekend, especially Sunday, I would do 2 jobs. One was I was a barman, and I was the altar boy. Now this is how I became an altar boy. There were so few Catholics in our detail. So when the padre used to come, a European padre used to come from Magadi with the 2 European nuns. So I would act like any other altar boy, and after the service, I would rush to the bar, and the 2 nuns, the 1 padre, and Chief Inspector Stephen Arap Soi would go to the officers' mess, and I would serve them drinks. And he used to say that after I've served them, I would write a receipt, and he would take the receipt. Up to today, I do not know anybody who paid for them or anything. There was the counterman, so he would give me, I would just say, just like any barmaid does, you go order for beer, and then after the bar manager gives you the receipt, you give it to Soy. so he places it. I remember on a few occasions, on many of the occasions, he would randomly, I found many of the times I used to be there when he had this standard procedure, because he would tip me, we would discuss, me and him. I told you that we had this love-hate relationship, because there are times when he wanted to train people on carrying heavy things or anything dashing. He would pick me, and I used not to like it. And then again, he would sit down with me and try to ask which is the best time to surprise the recruits with something that we called stand to procedure. Stand to procedure is an alarm where somebody, in fact, there were even a time I would be given a rifle, and then I would empty the whole 32 bullets into the air. That is to show people that there is a sudden attack, and people have to react on how to repulse the. So we stayed that way, and there's one day I don't know what happened, but he was really annoyed with me. He looked at me and asked me. I believe he hated lawyers, because he looked at me and said, "Now nyinyi wa lawyer." I told him, "I'm not a lawyer." He said, "What tribe are you?" I said, "I am a Tachoni." Tachonis are former Kalenjins who are now who speak Luhya. Tachonis and Tirikis were Kalenjins, but they speak Kiluhya. But he was confused with that, and he asked me, "Which part of Kenya do you come from?" And you see, Tachonis are related to Sabaot. Sakaja is one of us. That is why you used to hear people say that Sakaja is not a Luhya, is a Kalenjin. So I'm also a Kalenjin. My forefather was a Kalenjin. So when I told him my tribe is related to Sabaot, said, "Oh, when your Dorobo ile Mount Elgon?" I just said yes, although I knew Dorobos were found in Laikipia and somewhere in Molo area. But I just accepted because Kiganjo and GSU training school are more like prisons. You don't go there and start academic discussions. So we just completed that way, and then we completed our courses. I went to West Pokot. Being in West Pokot, there was a time I met, as I'm about to finish my talking, I met Sang twice after he trained me. I can say he was a good teacher because he was very strict. And just like all of them, I can say that 99.99% of the instructors in GSU will treat the president's son like this. If the president's son was there as a recruit, and a chokora ended up as a recruit, they will be treated the same. You are the president, you are the son of a VIP before you start the course, and you suspend that until the time you complete the course. So there's a time I joined the special branch, the intelligence, and then I used to blow dry my head and have an afro. So one day he was I met him in Kitale. He had a lorry full of GSU people. So I went, and as I was going there, he was shocked with this person who was, I told him, I know you. He said, "Where did we meet?" I said, "You taught me in Magadi." He said, "When?" I told him, "Na ukaacha kazi mapema?" I said, "No, I joined the intelligence." Then 5 years later, we also met at E10, where I was the deputy county intelligence officer, and he had come for recruitment. I don't know how he perceived me, because he felt he found me and said, "Na wewe unataka kuingia polisi na una nywele kubwa?" Then I told him I'm an inspector of special branch. but generally that is how I knew Mr. Sang. Afande Mwalimu, welcome to the free world again.